Yes, my name is Stuart Collis. I'm a Senior Program Officer at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I work on the Agriculture Development Program, and my focus is around digital farmer services, more recently more focused on digital public infrastructure and artificial intelligence, all in support of improving smallholder farmer productivity, incomes, women's empowerment in agriculture, access to healthy, nutritious diets, and climate resilience. My take on the AgriFin Learning event is interesting because I actually haven't been here the last 2 years, even though this is my most important grant, I would say, the grant I enjoy most. I've had some trouble getting here the last couple of years, so the last event I went to was 3 years ago. And so it's been really fascinating just to see the transformation since that time. I think the team have learned a lot about how to organize and manage an event of this scale. We've seen increasing numbers, increasing demand, and I think it clearly demonstrates the need for this type of organization and an event to bring together the community. I think without this, you wouldn't have these connections being made between different actors in the ag tech ecosystem, especially in Kenya. But more broadly in the other countries we work in. And so that's why, the ALE has really, I think, demonstrated the demand for this type of asset and resource and event. The sessions that I most enjoyed, there's several. I think probably a lot of people mentioned Stefano from iProcure, just did a fantastic job of really setting the tone of being open about the challenges of this type of work. It's really, really hard. And we have to be honest about what works and what doesn't. We have to learn from that. So I really enjoyed that session. Shri from Kusa followed up with a similar approach to sort of not just talking about their own organization, about the ecosystem as a whole. And I sort of saw that sentiment throughout. Technically, I really loved the AI sessions and the DPI session that just wrapped up. It just shows a depth of knowledge that probably actually didn't exist 3 years ago. It's the people and the organizations are far sharper and have much more understanding of the technology and the business models and all of these complex things. That is, I think, of huge value for other people to learn about and engage on. My feedback on AgriFin Digital Farmer 2, we've actually been doing some evaluations of the program over the last couple of years. I mean, I think the team have actually exceeded their milestones in terms of number of farmers reached. All of the activities that we laid out at the beginning of the grant, at least the piece that we're funding. There are other funders funding other components of AgriFin over the years from MasterCard and Bayer Foundation and others. But as far as the work we're focused on, they've really done a fantastic job, although I would say maybe we want to be a little more aspirational in our goals. If we're exceeding them, let's try to be a little more aspirational on those. I think the other learning that we have over the last few years is that supporting lots of solutions and platforms and ag tech companies, I think, has been helpful, and it's been the right thing to do over the last few years. What we're starting to see now, though, is that there are some barriers to a lot of those organizations scaling, and that's where we're maybe looking at what are some of the elements like digital public infrastructure or the catalytic components that all of these companies need in order to reach a larger portion of the population with their services. And so, we potentially can focus more on those. The key takeaways I have, as I mentioned earlier, the demand is there for this type of event. I think another interesting insight is just how much this ecosystem has matured. This is a difficult environment. This is hard work to begin with. Even more difficult when you have lack of capital coming in and being available to these startups. We've had some failures. Some companies had to close their doors. Trouble with attracting the right type of investors. Trouble finding product market fit. But facing lots of things that were perhaps out of their control, such as global economic circumstances, COVID, conflict, all of these things affect this ecosystem. And I think the companies and the partners have learned a lot from those experiences. You can sort of see that coming through. They've got a lot of scars and a lot of problems they've encountered that they're very open about. But the one thing that really I'm enthusiastic about is there's still a very enthusiastic undercurrent of desire to solve this problem. How do we improve the lives of smallholder farmers? How do we make sure they have access to all the services they need? This is really what drives this community. And I think it's, just really impressive how they come together. So I've been, just really struck by that. Yeah, as from a donor perspective, looking at the AgriFin program and, how we can scale impact, what we've done to date has been fantastic. We've demonstrated the value of these types of services. We've seen successful solutions. Some of these solutions are starting to reach scale, above 1 million farmers, but we still have a long way to go. Across the entire ag tech sector, there's only about 10% of farmers are adopting these solutions and using them in a meaningful way. Now there's outliers to that. There's some that are much higher adoption than that. But if we're going to get to full population scale access to these services, I think we need to do a few things around not just focusing on the ag tech innovators, but looking at the catalytic components, figuring out what are the right PPP models with government. How do we partner with government in a way that doesn't inhibit innovation, but leverages innovation to help the government reach the entire population with essential services? How do we make sure that the ag tech companies are sustainable? They're able to generate enough revenue that's in line with their investors and their donors. How do we make sure that farmers truly get benefit from these services, that they're personalized to them, that they have as an individual, they trust the service and they can access it when they need it for what they need at the right time. And so I think a lot of work to be done. Building on a fantastic foundation that the AgriFin program has established.